Hello! Welcome back to Chewed Gum. My name is Alyssa, and we are joined by the wonderful, the stunning, the very especially well lit today, Taylor.
Yay! Yeah, I don't look like I'm in Twilight, and I don't look like the sun is shining upon my face, so it's a nice medium.
Yay! I'm so glad. So this is, what's today? July 22nd, Tuesday, July 22nd, and this is Chewed Gum, where we talk about things related to purity culture and deconstructing and lady issues and dating and relationships and all the things. Please give us a call. Actually, all of our lines are open. So for the times where people are like, the lines are full and I wanted to call today and whatever, today is a great time to call in because all of our lines are open. And unless you want a full episode of Taylor and I just recapping what we did over the weekend, someone better call in.
Yeah.
You can call us.
Please.
Yeah. 720-619-2288. As a reminder, super chats of $5 or more will be read at the end of the show. And that's about it, I think. Oh, I clicked the screen and it paused. I didn't even know I could do that. That was weird. Anyway, how are you, Taylor?
Good. I'm so afraid I'm gonna sound like a mouth breather, so I keep, muting myself because my nose is just... And I feel like I'm breathing so heavy, and I'm just like, is everyone gonna hear me breathing? Yeah, I'm good.
You've been sick.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to talk about, our past week, because I've been, laying in bed rotting, so... So much to report, unfortunately.
Sorry. That's
How
no
about
fun.
you, though?
Well, I'm in LA right now, and I'm visiting my boyfriend, and that's why my background is different. We were talking about how he drinks a lot of Coke. So much, and also he doesn't drink alcohol. So, if he's gonna go out, he's gonna get a Coke.
Yeah.
And it's become a really insane caricature of his life now that all of the Coke things. This is the cup holder in front of me, or not cup, what's it called? Coaster?
Yeah.
He just really loves himself a Coca-Cola. What are you gonna do?
I love that. Crack it up in a cold one, either way, you know?
I know. The only thing is, I'm like, okay, but I want you to have like all of your limbs for the rest of your life, and I'm not convinced
Can you
that
hear
you
that?
drinking as much. What is it?
Can you hear a pinging on my end? Sorry.
No. A
No.
pinging?
Okay, good.
No.
Okay, good. Just making sure that you can't hear it.
Okay. No. You're good. You're good. Anyway, yeah, I'm just hoping that he gets to keep all of his limbs through his experience of loving Coke as much as he does, because I'm nervous. I see some people. Oh, some people are calling in now, so we'll get, as soon as they're through screening, we'll be able to take some calls, which is exciting. I'm trying to think of what I even did this weekend. I had lunch with friends. I did. Line has a podcast with Jimmy. Nothing crazy. It was kind of chill.
I love your TikToks. I've been seeing them more, and they're like, everyone I see is like pretty funny.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. There was one that I posted. Oh, I posted a thread about like there was a kind of scary situation that I was in that I won't give details to because it already felt scary. So I'm like, I don't really want to like divulge details, but it was just like an uncomfortable thing. And all I said on threads was like, I had a scary thing happen. Well, whatever. It was very vague. Somebody in the comments said, I went to look at your content and I saw that it's all like man-child this and men do this and blah, blah, blah. And so now I feel less inclined to offer you empathy. And I was like, to be clear,
Okay.
You went to my profile to see if I was worthy of your empathy.
Yeah, that's weird behavior, first of all.
I was like, I'm
That's
not
super
really
weird.
feeling, oh, you weren't going to give me empathy? Oh, you sound awful.
Wow,
I don't
I'm
want your empathy.
devastated.
I know.
And then for them to let you
what am I gonna
know.
do? I know. It was so weird.
Like,
and
instead
then,
of just
it's
moving
fine.
on.
I know. Like, just move along. I wasn't asking for anyone's empathy specifically. I was just expressing that I had like a weird day. So that was weird. But I appreciate that you like my content because other people not so much.
Yeah.
And there was other people too that were saying that had said similar things in the comments, and I was looking at my own content and I was like, I don't really think I make as much content about like men as they think I do. Because I looked and I was like, I feel like I've made like 3-4 videos in the past like 6 months related to like men specifically. I was like, you guys all need to chill out.
On top of that, your content is very like mild. It's not like some kind of inflammatory, like intense thing. I don't know. I don't think so anyway.
I know. I didn't think so, but I don't know. Some people do. And you know what? They're not my people, and that's okay.
Facts.
These are my people. Okay. We do have someone who is in our call-in studio that we can pull in, and they have a very, and I wonder if that's like actually his real name. Either way, kind of funny. Okay, so we're gonna pull in Satan from New Jersey, which makes sense because that feels aligned for New Jersey. Hello, Satan.
Hi, Satan.
Are you there?
Hello. Yes.
Hi.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
We can.
Amazing. Good to speak to you, ladies. I hope you're doing well. I have a question. I actually called the line maybe a week or two ago. Spoke to Matt before, and it was a different context. Given different shows bring different vibe to the conversation. So it was a Sunday show back then. And this particular show may be more relevant to my question altogether. So I was a little while ago surrounded by family and friends, and we had conversations about relationships. And I was not the one asking, but someone asked a female person about her preferences in dating and things like that. And number one was not 6 feet tall or anything like that or money. No, it was a God-fearing man. Like that was the thing for that particular person. And for me, it became just kind of a dissonance immediately inside because it entails so many negative things in my understanding. And in this society, like here in the United States, it is definitely a patriarchal society. Other countries can be much worse. Somewhere in the Middle East, it would be just even more pronounced. But let's say here in America, just wanted to hear your thoughts about hearing someone expressing like that's my preference. Of course, we cannot affect anyone's desires, and we can tell them what to want or not to want. But at the same time, they might not understand like, oh, that's actually problematic. So what are your thoughts about that?
My first question would be like, is there a specific part that you think is problematic, or like just the entire concept of like a God-fearing man?
Well, let's put it this way. If you follow the Bible, for example, or you follow, well, especially the Bible, really, Quran can be a little vague in some places, I know, but still it's very patriarchal society. But let's say Christianity. In this case, the person is Christian too. So by saying God-fearing man, they imply the one that follows the Bible and plural praise to the Jesus Christ and the Trinity and whatever. So if they're really following the Bible, it's not good. I mean, so many things in the Bible. First of all, they believe in something that is not confirmed to be true, and they believe without evidence that thing is problematic. And then they guiding the family because the man is the head of the household in the Christian family, like that nuclear family type. And it also entails bad example for the kids, for example. They'll grow thinking that, yeah, the father is everything and the mother is kind of secondary. And then they go to church, and church tells you, like, you're a woman, just keep your tongue, keep your mouth shut. Like, the man has to do things. Like, all kind of things like that just comes to my mind, personally. But what are your thoughts?
Um, I definitely have seen it go like a couple different ways because I think sometimes it comes down to like interpretation of the Bible. But like you said, if they're taking like how there's a lot of evangelicals in the United States and they take the Bible very literally, that can obviously be really problematic because yeah, it leads to like patriarchal things and oppressing women and a lot of like homophobia and a bunch of other things. And I've seen it go one or two ways. I've heard some people say that it genuinely makes them a more like patient, loving person because they feel like they're doing it for some kind of, you know, uh, big reason that they think is morally good. And then I've seen it I feel like I more often see it the opposite way, like in American culture where yeah, it leads to not great things, and it leads them treating people kind of not as equals. And I've also seen weird things like men use it as a weird thing of like, let's say he cheats and there's like women who say like I have to stand beside him or stay beside him because that's like the Christian or womanly thing to do. I see it used in weird ways like that where it's kind of a get out of jail free card as long as he's trying to be a godly man or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I do understand why you think it's problematic because obviously a lot of the things within Christianity are going to be harmful towards women like automatically because of what is in the Bible in general. So I agree with you.
Hmm.
I agree
Right.
generally, but I also understand why if you are a person who believes in God, you would want some like the same way that I don't think I could ever date someone who was a theist. Like we would just have so much not aligned. So it's kind of like I have less of a it feels like that makes sense because of the situation that they're in. Like they believe, so they want someone who also believes. And I don't know. I don't really have an interest in like deconverting people who don't have an interest in it or like start that conversation with me because you know, I feel like it's sort of an invasion of their freedom of choice. Like if they want to believe that crap, that's not my whatever. That's not my problem. They can do it. And so the same thing for people who are if they themselves are religious, I guess it makes sense to me that they would want someone who's also religious. And you guys are both absolutely right. And I would ask them like what values, like if you really wanted to like poke and prod at it, you could ask them like, oh, like what's important to you about religion that you need a God-fearing woman? Also, isn't it so interesting to describe your faith in fear? To be God-fearing is like this positive way to describe your faith is so like that alone. Like I'm like, I'm feeling like if we had an iota of critical thought in that moment, we would realize how weird that is.
Yeah, I was also gonna say something about that because pretending like being afraid of like not pretending, I guess they genuinely believe it, but saying that fearing apparently this like God who is all loving and all merciful and stuff is such a good thing to be is, yeah, it's bizarre. For sure.
Right. Yeah, and in that particular situation that I described when it happened, I did not engage and I did not ask any questions, like no strict epistemology or like why do you believe and like justify all that. I just kind of stayed away because again, it's something so private. And the question was asked like, what is your preference? And the person did answer like, yes, that's the preference. But I didn't want to press and kind of going into all that in front of a group of people. Maybe it's a discussion better had one-on-one almost. Like, oh, I heard that's what you said. I'm just curious, maybe why your preferences are. But it's just such a delicate thing, but yet so hurtful thing. Like to see people go through that, and it just perpetuates that circle um, of all that patriarchal just society and following biblical canons and biblical rules without no particular evidence. It's just kind of a tradition. You follow it and you follow it and you don't ask questions. And it hurts people down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think it's one of those things where you're just kind of, especially if you grow up in like a Christian household, you're kind of just told what to look for. And that kind of phrase, like, look for a God-fearing man or whatever, is just kind of said. And I don't think, like, I know when I was a Christian, I didn't really think about that much, like, what exactly that meant or why exactly I wanted that. And so, yeah, I think some of it is just, you grow up being told what to look for and what you should want, and that ends up being what a lot of people, go with. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and you're right about that. Actually, knowing that particular person, my theory is that yes, they were kind of following the trend, and they were advised like that's what you have to go for. Always make sure that's the situation. Like the man is following the Bible or goes to church or whatever it is, and they're not asking the independent questions, the important questions on their own. Why does it have to be like that? What if I meet just a guy is somewhere in the bar, wonderful human being, will be a wonderful father to the kids, or just honest and say faithful man, just not cheating guy. Why can't you be with someone like that? Why does it have to be a religious view that really feels that?
Yeah.
Ricky.
You could ask that. I think that might be like a way to ask to just get more, like if you're just curious, you could ask like, oh, what about someone being God-fearing makes it like what do you look when you say that, what are you looking for? Is it just like you want to be able to like go to church on Sundays, or is it like characteristics of their behavior? Like what are you looking for when you say that? Because just being God-fearing doesn't really tell the whole story. So I don't know, maybe you would get like some interesting feedback from them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think
good to get to your thoughts. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think, again, going back to like growing up Christian, the main thing they emphasize is dating someone who also believes in God, like specifically the Christian God. So I think a lot of it is like if a somebody from a Christian community or family were to even, end up in a relationship with somebody who wasn't Christian, that would be really frowned upon. I know that's like how I grew up, and most of the people don't want to deal with that, say it's not even that important to them. Most people won't want to deal with that like weird backlash or being isolated from the rest of the family, because a lot of Christians think that's a huge deal, that you can't be unequally yoked or whatever you want to call it.
Yoked.
Mm. I know that in a lot of churches and believer circles, if you marry or at least date or even marry an atheist, it's like you married dating a devil himself almost.
Yeah.
They're taking it out of context entirely, because atheism is not for devil, not rooting for devil or God or anything like that. It's just the absence of belief in deities. But yet it's conceived as if it's like the devil itself, like that, the fallen angel, the one that rejects God, doesn't want to do that, and instead of that, the one with the fear is better. So
yeah, it's like any other abusive relationship where they're going to demonize people who are questioning, and they're going to demonize people who are not of the faith. It's like they're the fallen angels and whatever. It's just like when you look at it from the perspective of it being kind of an abusive relationship, it starts to become very clear that that's kind of what it is for some people, not for everybody. I mean, I think there may be people who are like casual Catholics or whatever. Like I'm thinking about like some family members of mine where like it's comforting to them some days, and other days they're like not fully subscribed, and I don't think that they have critical thoughts about it at all, and they just go to church on holidays. And I guess if that makes them feel good, fine. But a lot of it feels like an abusive relationship to me.
Yeah, and a lot of them take it even further where like there's a lot who don't even want you dating outside of your like type of Christianity. Like I know for me growing up, it was like I don't think dating even a Catholic would be a good thing in their eyes, which sounds crazy, like probably for people who like aren't even part of Christianity at all, but yeah, they even like sometimes take it that far where it's like they have to be a specific denomination or believe a specific type of theology when it comes to that.
yeah, it opens such a big can of worms right there. It all has to do with the standard questions, like which God exactly? Which God are we fearing? Why is that God better than any other God? I mean, how did you decide that? And you have to fear that entity too. I mean, you follow it so blindly that you're like scared to do anything wrong or right even. You're like in constant freeze mode.
Yeah.
So that's what it struck inside me when I hear someone say, "Yeah, I must have in my life a guy who is just so fearful of that entity," and it's like, "Oh no, don't do that. Oh, don't do that. You can do so much better." but at the same time, it's like not your business, and it's hard to approach, and you don't want to hurt someone.
It's hard to find a balance
yeah.
with that, especially when you care about the person. Like, I have a family member who is like, it's my grandmother, who's like at the end of her, at the end of her time on this earth, as it happens when you're old. And she said at some point, like while she was in the hospital, she was like, I pray and I pray and look where it got me. And in my head, I was like, right, like that's why I hate this shit. You really, like, we all end up in the same friggin' box, like what was the point? Like, you put so much literal faith into a person or a being or whatever to like take care of all of these situations for you. And like, I even hear my mom say occasionally, like, I'm just going to leave it in God's hands. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I guess like what you're saying is like this, whatever the situation is out of my control. But to think that you're putting it in the hands of someone else, it's like, okay, but then when they don't do the thing that you're asking them to do and you somehow still give them a free pass, it's like, what are we talking about? And then you look at that as a person who doesn't believe and you're like, surely you can see that this is not a helpful tool across the board. And but for some people it is, and it's not really our place to like impede on what makes people happy unless it is like, I think, especially harmful. Like, I think there are definitely some like fundamentalist portions of religion that are like especially scary, obviously. But yeah, it's hard to watch like your friends and your loved ones do all that stuff.
Also, one thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say one thing I wanted to add in relation to, looking for a quote unquote like God-fearing man and like how that could be not so great. I think about, and I've seen this a lot within Christianity, is as long as a guy like labels himself as that or like a Christian, a lot of other things seem to be overlooked. And then that causes problems down the line, like general like compatibility or if they're even genuinely like a good person, because I feel like some not so great people can gravitate towards religion because they can kind of, like I said earlier, get away with a lot and then ask for forgiveness after. But yeah, I think it's, and then on top of that, a lot of times Christians get married very quickly because they don't believe in like sex outside of marriage and stuff like that. And so I've seen people get married to another person who says they're Christian and they think that's like a safe bet, I guess, when getting married, because like that's the number one thing they're looking for. And I think it causes people to ignore like a lot of other things in the relationship.
Mm. Right. It reminds me of something funny. It's like a meme. If you're into music, you know what reverb is, right? It's this reverberation of sound, makes it all pretty and fluffy. If you play something very crappily, but you still stick it with a reverb, it's just gonna mask things, and you're gonna make it fluffy. That this kind of makes a human more appealing, just because, I'm the man of God. Accept me as I am. I'm the best for you, and it really doesn't address anything important. And
Right.
That's a really funny way to
can be
put it.
overlooked.
Like, yeah, I like that that way to describe it. Like, it's just a whole bunch of reverb over a shitty sound.
Yeah. And one thing, when you guys were sharing your opinion right now, something came to my mind. So in the church, there's a lot of almost brainwashing going on, and a lot of almost, I can't find the word for that, but basically a lot of strong recommendations, like you have to go after people of your kind. Like, we are Catholics, you must marry a Catholic. We are Baptists, you have to marry a Baptist. Like the kind of colony mind high, right? Or high mind. And so they have the right to say what you should be doing. But me, I don't want to do the same thing, but at the same time, I want to sometimes, like, they're like, you can do better. Maybe don't do it. But yet, it's such a delicate thing. It's like when to say it, when not to say it. On the other hand, people tell you, like, literally, that's what you have to do. Otherwise, don't come back to this church, And then on the more secular point of view, it's like we are trying to be so gentle. We sometimes don't want to push and this and that. But who will tell them? They're just going to do it anyways. They're just going to do it what the church tells them. So that thin line is just very hard to cross, just not being invasive. Because me personally, I'm trying to be a decent human being, not a piece of crap who tells you what to do, And yet there's that urge to say something. And You know?
You know what's been helpful for me in this is when, especially with like the political climate that we have going for us right now, it's been really, really easy to, at a minimum, demonstrate how Christianity is used as a tool to do some really awful, shitty things. And so like when things come up, I mean, like we see this with the Republican Party every day now. When really terrible things are happening, I will send them along to like close family, like people who know that I'm not trying to like attack them. I'll send it to them and be like, look at this horrible thing that they're doing in the name of God. Isn't that weird? And hope that they're sort of putting it together to be like, all of this feels like a tool. Like this feels like a tool for you to believe this one ideology so you're easier to control. And like that's kind of all it is. So I don't know, I think sometimes a good way to do it is like when you see or hear things, to approach it with like curiosity with that person and be like, oh wow, did you see this? That's so crazy, instead of judgment. Curiosity instead of judgment, it leads to like better results for a lot of things like this.
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar because I feel like sending them maybe, well, if they would read a book or like watch even like a debate or something and like sending that to them and then asking them like what they think about it, I feel like is like a great way to go about it because I remember when I was Christian, a lot of the conversations I had with people who didn't believe weren't very productive because it felt like it was coming from a place of judgment where they thought I was stupid for believing. And obviously that like made me not want to talk about it because I was embarrassed or like felt like I couldn't actually say what I think. And I never really had anybody just, send me stuff to watch or read and then ask me what I genuinely think about it. And looking back, that definitely would have been the most effective method because that's what got me there, but I ended up doing that on my own. Sometimes it also helps you when you think you're thinking for yourself, which you are, but like when someone's not telling you what to believe, but instead you're consuming information and then deciding what you believe on your own, or like, being convinced of something on your own, I think is a lot more helpful. So just, yeah, what Alyssa said, like providing them with certain things and letting them form their own thoughts about it, because then they probably feel more secure about, changing their mind about something if they do change their mind.
Some reverse psychology right there. Sneaky. No, but
Yeah,
thank
you're
you.
like
Thank you. I understand.
tricking them into critical thought a little bit, but it works. It helps.
No,
Well,
no.
Satan, we
Thank you.
appreciate you calling, and yeah, let us know if you end up having any of those conversations, and give us a call. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah.
Sure thing. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. That was a very chill Satan.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. He was very chill.
Yeah. Lovely. As a reminder, make sure that you are getting in your super chats of $5 or more. We also have so many lines open, you guys. And there have been so many shows where people get so frustrated because they're like in the chat saying, I was going to call today, but all the lines are full, blah, blah, blah. Today's a great day to call. We have one more call that is waiting, and I see it. I'm excited to talk to Sarah in a few minutes, but I also want to remind you to go to patreon.com/calltheline to support this show and the other shows on the line. Jimmy has some fun stuff planned for the next, I don't know, rest of the year, I guess, or the foreseeable future. He's trying to do the Line Con, and there's always really great bonus material. So check out our Patreon as well. And I'm going to make an attempt to read the schedule. I pretty much always mess it up, but we're gonna try. Okay. Tomorrow we have the hang up with Matt Dillahunty at 6 p.m. On Thursday, TACIS at 2 p.m. with Arden and Luxander. And then we have 24. Okay. Then the Sunday show with Forrest and Owen at 7 p.m. On Sunday. On Monday,
No.
Skeptalk at 6 p.m. No?
No. Sunday show is the 27th, Matt and Eve.
Oh, it's the 27th is on here twice.
Yes, one of them's at 2 o'clock, one of them's at 7 o'clock.
Are they both on?
Yes, one of them's the 2 o'clock show. Then it's listed
Okay.
over to the right, After Dark.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, so we have a 2 o'clock Sunday show with Matt and Eve, and then a 7 p.m. Sunday show, Forrest and Owen. Then Monday, we have Skeptalk at 6 p.m. with, how do you say, is this Aaron? Aaron?
Aaron.
Aaron, okay. And then we loop back to Chewed Gum on Tuesday. See, every time I read this schedule, it's not a good situation. I try, but it's not good. We also had a poll in the chat. Is Christianity good for women? 74% of you said no. A shocking 19% said Bayesian. I don't know what that is. Miniature flock frogs. 3% said yes, and I'll call in. Where are you? 3%. And yes,
Yeah.
but I'm afraid of women. And that was also a 3%. I would like to know where these people who are going to call in. They always say they're going to. They're really brave in the comments. And yet. Anywho, okay, we actually have 2 calls that are in our queue, but I said I was going to pull in Sarah, so we will pull in Sarah first. We have Sarah of, I think Sarah Talks Podcasts, right? Is this Sarah?
Yes.
Hey, girl, how's it going?
I was telling chat that I had a full mental breakdown in therapy today, so I may start crying. I'm going to try not to, but we'll see how it goes.
That's okay.
That's okay. Sometimes
That
we
is
just
okay.
have bad brain days. That's okay. What do you want to talk about
Yeah.
today?
So, to give a little bit of context, I recently found out I am on the autism spectrum, within like the last year. And I am 28, still living at home, and I feel like I don't really have the freedom to make my own life choices decisions that I would like. So, as an example, I have plans to fly to Southern California to go see my boyfriend, because that's where he lives. And I am afraid to even bring this up to my parents in fear that they're going to say no. And I just want to know how I can advocate for myself, because this is something that I want, and I'm trying to prove to both myself and my parents that I can, be an adult and make adult decisions. And yeah.
I think you could try and have a conversation with your parents that is, as much as you can, unrelated to a specific event. Like, this should be a general conversation around how they treat you as an adult. And I'm sure the reason why they want to, guide you towards more caution is because they love and care about you and want you to be safe. But it also is important, like, you are an independent adult and you get to also try new things when you want to. Like, in reality, you don't really have to ask them for permission for anything, but I understand, like, you live with them, so it's a different situation. But I think that it would be a good idea to maybe ask them to sit down with you and explain, I know you want to keep me safe, and I also am 28, and so there are things that I want to do and try as an adult, as a young adult, and I understand that you want to keep me safe, but we need to find a system that works so that I can experience new things, and you also can build trust with me in the process. Like, if that means you call them once a day while you're gone, fine. If that means you are texting them in the morning and at night just to like say, hey, I'm alive, I'm good, everything's fine. Like, whatever it is, whatever method they need to check in with you so that they can gain some confidence that you're going to be fine. And then you can revisit what that process looks like when you have done it a few times. And you could say like, hey, this went great. So I think I actually can have more independence than where we started, and just work out a plan, like a plan that works for both of you guys, because you should be able to do, you're 28, like you should be able to take a short trip and have that conversation with your parent. Obviously, like, I don't know what your day-to-day life is like, or if there are limitations that I don't know about, but that is a conversation that they should be open to having with you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And they have met him. I see someone asking in chat if they've met him. I try not to read chat because then it distracts me because it's ADHD as well. But no, they have met him. So it would be different if they hadn't met him, But I feel like because they have met him, I don't see why it's a problem, But yeah, that's where I'm at.
I feel like I would also maybe ask them a question that would like maybe put things in perspective to with them asking like at what age then am I going to be allowed to like make these choices, and see what they have to say to that, because maybe they'll like come to the realization that it's maybe unreasonable to, treat you like you're not an adult forever. Because I know some parents struggle with that, and maybe if you ask them, well, what age are you finally going to feel comfortable, and if the answer is never, they're going to have to like reevaluate, their opinions on things like that.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely helpful. See, I love calling you guys because you guys always give me different perspectives on things and stop me from spiraling into a doom, depth of despair, even though the world is there right now. But,
Oof.
That's a story for another time.
Yeah.
I hear that. I think if you come in that conversation and you say like, I want to make a plan for how I can be on my way to having more independence, and you can say I really would like to plan this trip, and so maybe we use this trip as a way to test out a plan so that you feel comfortable and I can start to experience new things. Because like realistically, at some point, like they can't have eyes on you all the time forever. Like, it's not going to happen. Life doesn't work that way. And so you need to start building independence and confidence that you can do things on your own. And you are going to help them also build that confidence if you make a plan together that you agree upon.
Okay, yeah, for sure. That definitely is something I can do. And yeah, I'm excited to finally be able to advocate for myself, and appreciate both of your insight on this. And yeah, thanks for taking my call.
Anytime, Sarah. We
Yeah, of
will
course.
see you in the chat, and let us know if you have the conversation. Like, let us know how it goes.
Yeah, I will, for sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for calling, Sarah. We'll talk to you so soon.
All right,
right,
Sarah.
thanks. Bye.
Yay, we love Sarah.
She is sweet.
That's a tough situation. Yeah, she is. That's a tough situation. So hopefully that's a conversation that they're open to having, and
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We have 2 calls in the queue. Do you have a preference of these 2?
I feel like Amy would be a good one to talk to.
Okay.
Am I seeing this right?
Yep, there's
Okay.
Amy and Will. Okay, let's pull Amy in. Hello, Amy.
Hello.
Hi, how's it
Hi,
going?
Amy.
It's going pretty good. I'm excited to talk to you. I have been listening to Chewed Gum for a long time, so I'm excited to get to call in.
Yay, I'm so happy you called. Thank you for listening.
Yes. So, my question, I think, will require a little context, but probably not much, because I don't think that my experience is particularly unique. But I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to deal with it. So, I was born into a highly Orthodox Mormon family, and in case you aren't familiar, Mormons are Christian, even though other Christians are. Anyways, they're also their own brand of weird, and anyway, they're extremely patriarchal, and the more Orthodox an individual is within the religion, the more that patriarchy becomes pronounced. So I was born into a highly, highly Orthodox pioneer ancestors, been a member since Nauvoo. Like, my family has been Mormon forever. And so I was born into this system that was highly structured to minimize me as a girl, as a woman, as an individual. And 2 years ago, I deconstructed, realized, like, I had my awakening. I realized it wasn't true, and I started intentionally learning other religions and philosophy and just critical thinking in general and epistemology, that sort of, I started actively pursuing how we know what we know, But in doing all of that, I came to realize just how entrenched I was and had been in these misogynistic systems. And I don't, this is going to sound really dramatic. So, like, part of why I've been talking so long is because I'm trying to find, like, a less dramatic way to say it, but I give up. I'm just going to say it. All I have is rage. Like, there is only fury, and I don't know what to do about it, because I look at my life and I see all of the opportunities that were just withheld from me or denied from me, or even, like, at one point, not to out my family or whatever, but, like, at one point, my dad actively prevented me from attending a university I wanted to go to, because he said that he was the authority figure in my life, and he didn't think that that was the right school for me to go to. And I mean, like, of course, it's tough, because, you look back and go, oh, well, if these things hadn't happened, I wouldn't have XYZ. But also just realizing how so much of my life has not been my choice, and I don't know how to deal with, like, the anger and the grief over all of the missed opportunities and all of the, like, wondering who I could have been if I had been in a different situation. And I don't know how to, like, function in the world, because I walk around and all I see is patriarchy, and it makes me want to fly off the handle. Like, I don't know what to do. So there's my long context. What are your thoughts?
I don't think you're being dramatic. I think you're having a reasonable reaction, and I can heavily relate. Yeah, I can heavily relate, because I didn't grow up Mormon, but I grew up evangelical, and they did their own things with sexism. But I definitely people always talk about the stereotype with atheists of like being angry, but there's kind of a reason that atheists get angry or people who leave religion get angry, at least for a period of time. And it's because they feel like they were lied to or things were taken away from them or like things that could have been like you mentioned. And I think that anger can be useful in a lot of ways and it's like part of the whole entire thing. Like anger is there for a reason. Um
Mm-hmm.
One thing for me, especially when it came to relationships, because I had a lot of anger towards, people in my life who upheld all of those things, and then I became a part of it, was kind of realizing that it is way bigger than the people I know. Like, it's just, and, it's kind of like victims create other victims type thing. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily make it easier, but it kind of helped me direct my anger at bigger concepts or like the bigger picture, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, it's really hard. I um had a ton of anger, and I feel like that's very valid, and I still have a ton of anger, especially with just like things happening politically and watching like Christian nationalism and stuff. So, I
Oh
don't
my
think it's
gosh.
dramatic at all.
I
I think it's
know.
very reasonable. Yeah. It's a little triggering when you're like trying to leave that and then it's like becoming so
Here,
much
we're going to take
worse
over your
like
government now.
currently.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's like a different kind of pain for ex-Christians watching this go down because you're like, "Oh damn, I thought I was gonna get away from this." But you don't really.
yeah, very much. And
Yeah.
yeah, I are there. Sorry, I'm trying to think of how to word my thoughts.
No, it's okay.
What suggestions do you have in terms of like productively channeling it? Because I have found like I since leaving religion, I've become much more like involved in local politics, like civically involved. And I mean, almost every Wednesday I go and I meet with my little, I have a little like political group that I go meet with every Wednesday. And they're all like in their 60s and 70s, and it's kind of fun. Anyway,
Aw.
point being, like I've been looking for ways to like get more active and be more productive instead of just feeling like I'm seething all of the time. Do you have any other suggestions for like ways to I don't know, put it to use instead of just getting eaten up by it constantly? Because even little things like sometimes my husband, and don't get me wrong, my husband is a wonderful human being. We're still together. Everything's good. Sometimes he'll say things and I want to like just leave forever. And it'll be things that I know, like rationally, I fully recognize that I am having like a dysregulated response, but it's because there's all of this. I mean, there's 33 years of I have been bending over backwards to be in this thing that I was always uncomfortable in. Because I remember, I mean, I was just barely over 8 years old when the first time that I realized, I have this vivid memory. I was in Sunday school. I was watching the other like kids in my little Sunday school class, and the boys in my class were picking their noses and wiping their boogers on the back of our teacher's dress, and she didn't know.
Ew.
And I know, gross, right? But I had the vivid realization that no matter how good I was never going to get the promises that they had. And I thought, like as an 8-year-old, I thought, God loves boys more than he loves girls. And I went and I like talked to my parents about it. I talked to all of the adults in my life that I trusted, and all of them either told me that like that was Satan trying to trick me, or I just wasn't understanding right, or no, you're wrong. Like I was just told, no, you're just misunderstanding. You're just not interpreting it correctly. You're just not having you're not the right spirit, not the right attitude. And so I spent so many years just jamming myself into this like mold of what it meant to be a good God-fearing girl, and then a good God-fearing teenager, and then, like I spent so much time and pain and energy trying to fit into this, and then discovering that none of it was all just a means of control. It's hard. And so I don't want, if nothing else, I do think that like I can recognize that one productive thing that came from it, I suppose, is that like the reason, the thing that finally like, because I'd been kind of questioning for a long time, but it was actually like my daughter was reaching the age of baptism, and I could not do it. Like, I could not make her get baptized. I just felt wrong. And at the time, I didn't have words to articulate why, but looking back, it's because I understood that she did not have informed consent. She did not understand what she was agreeing to, and I could not stomach making her do something that I knew she didn't understand. And so that was what made me go, okay, I'm really going to actually evaluate what I believe. Because if I'm going to make my child do this, I have to be sure that I believe in it. And that's what it took like 2 days of genuine investigation to go, no, this is not real. Anyway, but I'm just trying to find ways both to heal, and I know like healing ultimately just takes time, but I want to do something with this feeling of, like I want to help other people, but I don't know how. I don't know what to do. What would you suggest?
I do have one suggestion of you can volunteer at places like Recovery from Religion to be like a like live chat support or whatever. I went through the training for that, and I've yet to do it on my own yet, but I think I'm doing my first time like this week. But even the couple I took like with my trainer, it's like really empowering knowing that you're helping people who are in the same position you have been, and it feels really good to like use that energy and what you've been through to help other people and provide them resources. Obviously it's not about like talking them out of anything or whatever, but it's just sharing resources with them that could really help them in those situations. And I also know it's not for everybody, but the main thing that I did was making content, and I think the reason for that is I was so quiet in my real life that the internet was a place where I felt like I was screaming into the void because I didn't have anybody I knew on there. Like I didn't follow anyone I knew, like, and I used a fake name. And it felt good to kind of be loud about my thoughts for once in my life. And I know there's like a huge you said you were Mormon? Was that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's like a huge like ex-Mormon community on like TikTok and stuff. And I know content isn't for everybody, but sometimes even if you just make videos and put them out there, it connects you with like a lot of people, and it's nice to even just like have conversations with people who have been through the same thing and feel the same, because you are definitely not alone in any of those feelings. And I've heard so many parents say that they started deconstructing whenever they had their kid and they had to make choices like what you were talking about. And I think that makes so much sense, and it's super interesting to hear from parents when it comes to that. But yeah, you're definitely not alone in that, even in that specific thing of with your child, like having to make that decision. I've also heard that from like the deconstruction community. So I don't know if either of those are helpful, but those are two things that I found helped me in a couple different ways.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think even some people in the chat were talking about creating other support groups on your own or joining other support groups. You can also create groups or look for ones that already exist in your area to help help influence more secular education and programs in your area, and that sometimes helps too. Like, I agree with Taylor. A lot of what's been helpful for me has been creating content and finding, like, in creating that content, finding other people who understand. Like, community in, like, one of the hardest parts of leaving an organized religion is you lose your whole community. Like, it's not just,
I mean, I don't, I feel like I have no culture now at all. Like, nothing. Because, like, my whole family has been religious for literal generations. And so for me to leave, and I'm one of the first, like, since leaving, my brothers have both admitted that they're out, and one of my cousins has confided in me. But I come from a very large family. Both, like, my immediate family and my extended family is large. And I'm so alone now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, someone in the chat too recommended joining the Line Discord. Like, the whole Line community is really awesome because you know that all of these people are going to be aligned with, like, feeling the rage that you do towards the things that you missed in life. And if you're a patron, you get access to the Discord. I think it's like $5 a month. So that could be really fun. But I also, you're 33. Sorry, I keep kicking my table and it's shaking my camera. You're 33 and you have so much, like, you can restart so much of your life at 33. And I know that, like, there are things that have already, like, sort of, like, there are things that have come and gone, but, like, don't feel like you missed out so much so that that there aren't opportunities and things that you can experience now. Like, if I were you, I would create a little bucket list of things that you wish you would have done, but were not able to do. And, like, find even if it's like a silly way to feel like you've checked it off of your list, like, I would say trying to pursue that and try and, like, heal the inner child in that way.
Yeah, I very desperately want to go back to school. I have for a while, actually. And I earned my bachelor's degree, but I've always wanted to get a master's. But it just, like, my degree is in studio art, but I've always wanted to get a master's in cultural anthropology and study, like, study the connections between the human impulse. Like, it's fascinating to me that across so many diverse cultures, across the whole span of human time that we know of, we as a species just have this impulse to create, to prove that we were here, to make a thing because I can, and I want to study that. But currently I'm in this position of, like, okay, well, we have children and my husband has an established career and going back to school is money and everything, like, the economy is stupid and the government is, like, being taken over, and there's all these external factors that, and I'm not saying this to say, oh, it'll never happen, but just, like, that is probably a contributing factor in my frustration, is that, well, now that I know, I want to change route. Like, I'm gonna, like, my time is precious now, more than it ever has been, and I don't want to waste it. And so I feel this really strong urgency to, like, go and do the things I've always wanted to go and do, And it's frustrating to like run up against, okay, well, no. So I'm sure that is like a contributing factor.
I definitely feel that of when you leave religion, you're like, yay, I have all this freedom, and then you're also like, damn, I have all this freedom, like I have to like like it's like a double-edged sword. Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword where like like freedom is nice. It can also be very overwhelming as like like I've had a lot of the same thoughts of like, yeah, damn, this is my only life, like it's like both freeing and scary because you're like I want to do, I want to make the most out of it and stuff. But it honestly sounds like you are and that's what's important. But yeah, I understand like the frustration of limitations of certain things right now. It's hard.
Yeah.
I also, like, someone in the chat said, like, one day at a time and you matter too. And that's true. And I think, like, sometimes this advice feels delusional, but sometimes it is an important push that where there's commitment, there's a way. Like, if you feel committed to getting this master's degree and you can brainstorm ways to get the money together in whatever way you can, or have a conversation with your husband about, like, what your financial situation looks like, or like what schools are available to you, even if you go online, or you do 1 year online and then maybe finish and graduate from another school. Like, I think that there's so many ways that you could achieve what you're trying to, and it might just look different than the way that you're thinking about it now. But truly, like, there was one, I did this like leadership like conference thing, and they had us like, the way they demonstrated where there's commitment is a way. I was literally just talking about this yesterday. It was a group of 70 people. They had us all on one side of the room, and we had to get to the other side of the room, and every single person had to get to the other side of the room in a different way. And we all were like, there's no way, there's 70 different ways to do this. And if you did something that someone else did, you had to go back to the back of the line and try again. And it was like, you could crab walk, you could skip, you could dance, like whatever. And we ended up doing it. We ended up having 70 different ways to get from one side of the room to the other. And the whole message was like, truly, where there is commitment, there is a way. And it just depends on like what you're willing to compromise on, where you're willing to place some risk, and also how much you're willing to really trust that, like, you got this, actually. Like, the freedom that you have is exciting and scary, but like, you absolutely can do it. And you showed yourself you could do it because you did a bachelor's degree. So like, you could absolutely do the master's degree. And you already have done something way harder, in my opinion, which is you left an entire way of life that like you didn't have all of the context of life that you have now until you left. And now you're like kind of like relearning all of this new stuff. Like, that is so much harder to me. So anyway, the long and short of it is, where there's commitment, there's a way. Have a conversation with your husband and see if there's like anything that you can do to make school work, or any of the other things that you might want to try in this life.
I wanted to add really quick that I feel like I'm a great example of what Alyssa said, because I thought there was no way I could get a degree at all because I had like no parents in my life and no kind of support or whatever. And I actually worked for a job for like 7 or 8 years to like be able to, because they paid for my schooling because I worked for a specific job. And it took me so long. I didn't graduate until I was 30 because I was working like full time. But yeah, sometimes it like looks different, like she said, but there are so many different ways to go about it.
Thank you. You're making me emotional. I really appreciate it.
I even wonder if there's like a scholarship for there should be scholarships for people who leave like organized religions or fundamentalist religions, right?
Yeah,
there should be.
No, I mean, there should be. There certainly should be. Like, the amount of upside down and growth that I've gone through in the last 2 years is wild.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. It is. It's wonderful. Like there is. It took me a while to like start feeling comfortable with. I've always been fairly assertive, so it's like I've always been the crazy feminist Mormon, but like I've always been fairly assertive, but I have also, especially in the last 2 years, really become aware of like how prone I am to like using people around me to clock how good or not good I'm doing. I didn't used to think that I had I don't know, self-esteem issues, and then I left religion and went, oh, I have deeply internalized self-esteem issues. But
Yeah.
so so thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate what you shared. Thank you very much.
Listen, this community is like truly, like, I'm glad that you've been watching this show, and the more that you get involved in this community, the more that I think you'll find that there is a community here that will hold you through moments like this, because many of us have been through exactly what you're describing and would never even dream of thinking that you're being dramatic, because like the chat has been this whole time has been like identifying with what you've been sharing. Like, you're not even close to alone, especially on the line.
Well, thank you. Well, and that's part of how I like found the line at all, is because, you know, after I left, I mean, I'm still like low contact with my parents, but essentially my family's gone. Like, I have everything I knew is gone. So it's just starting from scratch. So it is very lonely. And that's what kind of, I was looking for others. I was looking for others that understood that it's a unique kind of like, oh, I'm rebuilding everything from scratch and I'm totally liberated. Oh my gosh, I'm doing everything from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like it can be hard finding like I feel like maybe like a different type of community, because one thing religion does well is, you know, they meet once a week, like it's very structured. And so
Yeah.
leaving that can feel very like weird. And I think like deconstruct or ex-Christians or atheists, whatever you want to call it, I still think there's a lot that can be done there as far as like building more and more community. But I think it is growing, obviously. But yeah, it is a little more like you have to be like what you're doing, like be more intentional about it, because it's kind of something you have to like seek. As opposed to religion that's like always all up in your face.
Yeah.
But I think
like,
you're doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I don't want to take up too, you know, I know that the point is to like prioritize this, so I don't want to like take over too much time, but I really appreciate you talking to me, and thank you so much. I feel better. Thank you.
Good. Oh, you're muted.
I'm sure, you know,
Alyssa.
like it'll be back tomorrow.
Sorry.
I'm sure the rage will come back, but for the moment,
it always
does. It always
so good
does.
and validating to like hear I'm not alone. So thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
And go through the live chats too, and like you'll see lots of support for you and also people identifying with you, but there's also lots of suggestions that people were sharing here, like recovering from religion.
Okay. Yeah.
There was a resource that came up in there for secular therapists, like lots of stuff in there, and like be a part of the line as much as you can and would like to be. Because like the one thing we certainly have here is community. Like every Tuesday, anytime I have not been on Chewed Gum for whatever reason, I genuinely like miss the people that are in here every week with me, because it is like there are some different people, but it's like mostly the same kind of like people in the live chat, and like I know who they are, at least by username, and it's nice to have community around it, and it makes you also feel like not crazy when you are like, oh, I could literally punch a hole through concrete. What the hell? It makes you feel less crazy when someone else is like, exactly.
Yes.
So
yes,
I'm really
that.
glad you called. Yeah, I'm really
Thank
glad you
you.
called, and I know a lot of people in the chat are really glad you called too. So give us a call anytime, and we're happy to talk you through anything we can.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You guys have a good day.
Thanks,
You too.
Amy.
Bye, Amy.
Bye.
Oh.
Okay, we
Yes,
love
I feel like
Amy.
yeah, so many people relate to Amy. I relate to Amy.
Yeah. It's always when people call like
sure.
that and they're like, I don't want to give you too much. I don't want to like give you like my life story. Like it's probably not even interesting. And it's always something that everyone in the chat identifies with. And I'm like, even if you think that
Yes.
what you're sharing is like, it feels too personal for like, I promise you other people identify.
Yeah, and I just feel like each experience with like a ex-Christian, ex-Mormon, whatever it might be, is like so many people feel the same things, but they're also so unique that people are gonna like yeah, they're gonna feel so alone, and then when they hear something you say, maybe it's like a detail or something specific about becoming ex-Christian, they're gonna be like, "Holy shit, I thought I was alone." And people have a lot to offer talking about becoming ex-religious because of all of that. Like just that experience is very valuable to share with other people, for sure.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Oh, we love Amy. We have one more call, and so if anyone wants to get their super chats in, now would be a really great time. Also, if I'm wiping my nose, it's because I'm literally right in the path of the AC, and it's making my nose run. So sorry. Okay. Let's pull in Will, calling from North Carolina. Hello, Will.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I've been calling in for the last few days, and this is my first time calling in as an atheist because my last call-ins have been kind of me working through deconstruction of my beliefs,
Wow.
specifically coming from Christianity. Yeah. And so this is a first for me, so I apologize. I have some questions for you guys about your prior beliefs. I'm assuming that you both used to be Christian. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was part of a Roman Catholic church back in the Dizzy.
Okay. Yeah. So I apologize if some of my questions might sound like kind of theisy because I'm only now kind of going back and reflecting on a lot of things that I never really thought of, and one of them were, I guess, kind of the perspective, or like a woman's perspective going through Christianity, because there are obviously a lot of questionable things in the Bible, for example, and then there's a lot of, I guess, quote-unquote traditions that are questionable in nature. And so one question that I really wanted to ask you guys, just from your perspective, was there anything about Christianity that made you feel like different or uncomfortable about being a woman? And I'm assuming that there are several. So, but just like one that stands out in particular, or one that, like if it's like misogyny in the Bible, or if it's like some way that people treated you. I'm just kind of curious if there is an experience like that you guys had to encounter.
Yeah, I feel like a couple that stuck out to me a lot is when I was a child, like, going through puberty. I remember being so embarrassed that I was like turning into a woman because it felt like, and I didn't understand it at the time. I literally remember a day where I was like sobbing because I was like weirdly ashamed of becoming a woman, and it didn't make sense to me at the time, and now looking back at it, I'm like, oh, it's because of, you know, how it's like a, like, always cover up, like, your body's kind of like a shameful thing or something that causes men to, like, sin or lust or whatever it might be. And just a lot of purity culture stuff, but also I remember specifically hearing about a woman being assaulted, and I remember the men around me saying, like, what was she wearing, or like she was wearing this or that. I also didn't think much of it as a child, and looking back, I'm like, wow, a lot of the purity culture is it's like the worst thing it does is, you know, blame victims, especially when it comes to women experience any kind of things like that. And those are like two major things that stick out to me. And also just, you know, the everything that comes with purity culture, like the slut shaming of the first time I was ever called something like that, I think I was 13. I had never kissed a boy, and I was called a slut at church by this like youth pastor's son, and I didn't know what that was. I didn't even know what it meant. And so yeah, a lot of that definitely happened. How about you, Alyssa? Did you experience any of that?
I think it was definitely the purity culture stuff. Like, you know, the show is called Chewed Gum because there's like a whole thing about nobody wants gum that's already been chewed, and it's supposed to discourage people from having sex with more than one person. I think the Christian view of sexuality and the shame that's associated with it is so, it like ripples out into so much of who women are. It devalues so much of our experience, especially because many women have children, and that having sex is a part of having children. And in the church, like your main goal is to like be married, have kids. And if that's not what you want to do, then you're having sex just for fun, or you're not having sex at all, which is what the church is sort of like proposing that you're doing. So that never sat right with me. And now I think I started to not really believe when I was in like high school, college, just because it didn't feel true to me. I was like, what? Like, it all felt like it was contradicting itself. And I was like, I just don't really believe that any of this happened. And now that I've gotten older, and I'm in the field that I'm in, which is sex and relationship coaching. And so I learned a lot about sex education, and I can see how much purity culture informed how I have dated and had sexual relationships in my life. It's actually like really frightening. And anytime I create any sort of content that is even remotely encouraging women having the freedom of choice in their sexuality, the comments that I get are absolutely horrifying. And 9 times out of 10, I go to their profile and there's a Bible verse in it. And it's like, it's this, like, I'm sure you've heard people say there's no hate like Christian love. And that's truly what it feels like. It feels like, even like if you take everything from the book alone, it's not great for women. Like, why is the Virgin Mary a virgin? Why does she have to be a virgin? What role does that play? What message are you giving people that this person, who I think there was some conversation that I've seen about her being like 14, allegedly. I don't know how anyone would know that, but regardless, when you're giving this message, like from really like the impotence of the entire story, the first message you hear is that Jesus was born from a virgin. Why? Why did that make him more pure? Why did that make her more pure? What was the function of including that in the story? And like, so from the start, I'm sort of like, well, what the fuck? And then you move forward in this whole story, and like you hear about, you know, Mary Magdalene is a prostitute, and Jesus is revered for being friends with her because she's like an awful, dirty person, and he decided not to judge her. And it's like, now we've, I think, evolved enough past this where we can see people who are like creating adult entertainment on like OnlyFans or whatever. Maybe they're porn stars. And we can see that they are normal people with normal lives. Many of them are married. Some of them have moved on past that career and have children. Like, they're really, the amount of shame that is involved in all of those, like, those things, it's like embedded into these stories that it feels so like covert and under the, it's like these undercurrents of messages in through all of it. And that's like the stories in the Bible, and there's so many more that I don't even know about, but the stories in the Bible. And then what's even worse is the people who have created a culture around Christianity that is not really supported by the Bible. Like, there's nothing in the Bible that explicitly says that gay people should not exist or gay people are wrong. Being gay is wrong. Mm-hmm. And somehow we have created this entire crusade. And so, you know, it feels specific sometimes to women, but it also is kind of like, it feels like the message is, unless you are exactly the kind of person that Christianity wants you to be, you are wrong and bad. And I don't believe that many of the things that they're judging are an indication of your ethics or your morality. Like, I don't think that having sex with more than one person in your lifetime is an indication of a moral failing. Like, there is no morality connected to that. Funny enough, what's connected to morality in the Bible is being wealthy. And what we've done, at least in the US, is glorify people who are wealthy. We've given them, specifically Republicans who talk about being Christian all the time. Like, that's the political party that peddles Christianity. And all they do is make space for people who are already wealthy. And in reality, like, those are the people that are in the Bible are apparently not the ones who are going to make it. Isn't the quote like, it would be easier for a camel to go through the needle or the eye of a needle than for a wealthy person to make it into heaven? Something along those lines.
Interesting.
Right? So like,
yeah.
So like,
oh, sorry.
It's the text, and then it's also the interpretation of the text. I have issues with both.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Thank you both for that. That was a lot to unpack, but I'm appreciative of that. That was, I think that, I think everything that you guys said made complete sense to me. And a lot of it is stuff that I may have, like, I feel like I may have had issues with in the past, but I just kind of never really thought about it. And I certainly never got a woman's perspective on it. So that was really insightful to hear about. I think I especially, what clicked with me was when you guys were talking about this, like, idea of, or this problem of purity, and that kind of having a negative pressure on, I guess, other people as well, but women in particular, at least in the Bible. And I think what always kind of stood out to me was that story of Adam and Eve, just going back to Genesis, where it's like Eve is like this object of temptation rather than kind of being seen as a person. It's more kind of like, I guess, a plot device for Adam. And that's something that I really never even thought about until after, like, or until my deconstruction process. So yeah, I really have nothing more to add to that, because that's your guys' perspective, and I'm just really glad that I got to hear that, because a lot of that I had never really considered. So thank you for that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that Adam and Eve story is so interesting because I didn't think about it really hard when I was a Christian, and looking back, kind of the whole story is kind of like, obviously sets women up to seem like they're not good at decision making or leading, and that kind of gives men an excuse to build like a patriarchal system, because, you know, women just can't make the right choices, is like kind of how they set it up, even though Adam also apparently sinned. But after leaving Christianity, I found it so interesting that part of Eve's punishment was her husband ruling over her, like literally using sexism as a punishment from God was like a wild thing to come to terms with that I did not ever bother to notice when I was a Christian. But it makes so much sense, like how the story's written, setting it all up to make women the I don't know, inferior gender or the gender that can't lead as well. Yeah, it's very interesting to look at it once you're out of it because you're like, well, damn, that's really messed up to make sexism a punishment for a sin. That's super weird.
Yeah, I agree. I think another thing that stood out to me was I didn't always go to church, but there were a few times that I did go, and I remember there being this there was this pastor that was, I think, reading out this passage, which was, and I honestly can't remember like word for word or even paraphrase what the passage was, but I know that it was specifically talking about, I believe, like women should be like quiet in the church or something like that. And there was this like, I guess, it was interesting to me because I was like, why? It was such a contrast. It was like a whiplash kind of feeling. Like there was great community. I was really having a great time, and all of a sudden there was like, and here's this really sexist thing that we're just going to say about women, and then they, I guess, tried to spin it into this interpretation that made it sound not so bad, which didn't really resonate with me. But
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting that there's like that kind of, I mean, maybe like intellectual tap dance around what seems like a very literal statement
Yeah.
in the Bible. So I just thought that was interesting.
It's interesting because Christianity, I mean, they like a lot of them claim, they have objective morality, but they a lot of times have to kind of change their morality over time to stay like relevant, I guess, or stay where people would want to like continue with them because if they you're right, like it's just like them, putting their own spin on it. But if they were to take the Bible literally, like a lot of evangelicals claim they do, they would have to stick to that. But they know that if they stuck to that, it would be way more unpopular and a lot more women would leave. And more women are leaving in general than men just because of like the sexism. But yeah, I just think that's funny, kind of how that stuff changes over time because it has to for them to keep younger people in it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. That actually, I think that kind of brings me to my next question, which is kind of, wouldn't say the opposite of what we're talking about, but kind of the opposite view of looking at this, which I wanted to ask, like, do you think it is possible for like women to keep their faith without being subject to these like misogynistic issues? And I'm not saying that they should necessarily, because obviously I'm on the side now of deconverting, but do you think it is possible for women to like remain Christian without being subject to these issues? And obviously there are lots of Christian women, but that doesn't mean that they aren't subject to these problems, and they could not even be directly aware that they're subject to these problems. So I was just curious what your like answer or thoughts on that would be.
I think it's like if you're someone who's taking the Bible seriously, that would be impossible just because of like how the Bible is written. And I know there are, progressive Christians, like super progressive Christians that I really, really do appreciate. But I do think that sometimes involves ignoring certain things in the Bible or, saying that you're comfortable with not caring about certain parts of the Bible. But if you're taking like the Bible in general as like the word of God, like how some Christians do, I don't think there's any way you can escape that part of it. What do you think,
I
Alyssa?
agree. I think
that makes sense.
You basically have to cherry pick the information. Like, again, my mom is very religious. I have no interest in deconverting her. However, she has a Bible study group, and they meet every week for most of the year, and it is specifically for women. And there is a guidebook that they use to like navigate specific stories in the Bible that are specifically for women. So I think that like if you kind of see what you want to see in this situation, and so a lot of the times when we have conversations with people who are theists, we boil it down to, you know, well, I have faith, like that person has faith, a theist has faith, and at some point many atheists are just looking for the truth, which means I can't cherry pick the information. I don't want a separate guide that's going to interpret the stories in a way that is favorable to me staying a part of this thing that feels very clearly not made for me, and not in favor of me having like choices and free will and whatever. So yeah, I think it's just a lot of cherry picking that would have to be involved.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess that makes sense, because I mean, there's not really much logic in like adopting a worldview and then only taking some elements of that out and then still saying that that's the entire encompassment of your worldview. I think that's
even like
yeah.
Some of the thing, the part that I think is kind of interesting is for people who cherry pick. It's like, what is the value you're trying to take from this? If the value is, I like some of Jesus's messages, okay, but then maybe the Bible is a storybook, and you learned really great messages from that story. What is the purpose then of making it into a situation where you are going to church and you're donating to a church and you are subscribing to this faith? And I've heard people say before on this show, on this channel, that part of the reason that they want to keep their faith is because it gives them a like a moral compass to have the like people will say, well, how do you know like what's morally and ethically right if you don't have the 10 commandments? And I'm like, are you asking me how I know it's wrong to kill someone? What are you talking about? I think we can kind of figure it out. But like realistically, even if like you use the 10 commandments as a way to give you some sort of moral compass, great. Like if that is meaningful to you, sure. But it doesn't mean that you believe that there is a, you know, to use Jimmy's phrasing, I don't think he made it up, but Sky Daddy that is watching everything that you're doing, that you have to like be on your knees and worship every week. That's a whole different thing. Like I've also had this conversation with theists when they call, where they'll say, well, part of their argument for why they believe the Bible is true is because it's been around for a really long time and it's whatever. And, you know, we have all of these stories written by people. And I bring up to them, like, Scientology is based on a book also. So what's the difference between Scientology that's based on a book and is a completely different religion and Christianity that is based on a book? And at least with Scientology, we know who wrote it. And we know like, he was a fantasy writer. We have more information. But with the Bible, like, anyone could have written it. And as far as we know, the people who wrote it from years and years, decades, sometimes even after these events allegedly happened. And we've all seen how like telephone works. And these could have been men who put their minds together and were like, I think we can actually leverage this in our favor. And that's not a shocking thing to me, because we see people, human beings, do that all the time. So, you know.
Yeah, I think, well, what's interesting when you're bringing up morality, the issue of morality, objective morality, is that I probably was that caller several times, not literally, but in the past few days, that was definitely the issue. One of the main issues that I was struggling with in my deconstruction was trying to reconcile the idea of there being no like universal standard or objective morality, and kind of using that as as a premise for my belief in God. And I'm still working through that. Like I still have questions. Those will be for another call in, but I appreciated you saying that, because that's definitely something that I wrestled with, and that I'm still thinking about and trying to figure out. But I agree with what you're saying, that it's not that I don't think that having that religious doctrine, I guess, is necessarily the answer to that question. Whereas in the past, I definitely would have said otherwise. So yeah, thank you for that. I had one more question to ask you guys, but I think you kind of already answered it. I'll go ahead and ask it anyway. I was going to ask, what do you think the biggest threat to women today is in regards to Christianity? But it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, it sounds like the answer to that would just be like self-esteem issues and pressuring women to think about themselves in a certain kind of way as like more of a sinful sexual object rather than a person who's just like anyone else. That would be my impression of what your answer to that would be, but I'm curious to hear what your actual answers are.
The main thing I think I focus on now is how it impacts us on like the biggest level, like through government, and how like that purity culture literally starts to go into our laws and stuff when it comes to reproductive rights and stuff. I think that can get really scary really fast, because like we've seen, well, first of all, I just believe in reproductive rights, period, but we've seen women literally die because they couldn't get the help that they needed due to this like weird idea surrounding purity culture, and like and then being anti-abortion and stuff. That's like my biggest issue, is like how it's actually like impacting people's real lives. And people always say like no one's forcing you to be Christian, but it's like you're forcing and in this case like women to live by your specific values and morals. And I know there's even laws that are like they're attempting to pass when it comes to like people. I'm not going to be able to explain this right. Just like people getting certain things if they are a single mother, or they want to make it kind of harder for single moms to get along, and then also make divorces harder to get, and like stuff like that. Like a lot of that comes back down to purity culture, and that's going to impact people's real lives and in a really horrible way that takes away people's autonomy. And I feel like that's what I'm most worried about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed.
sure.
And it feels a lot like it's exactly what Taylor's saying, and it also feels like it's an illusion of choice. Like that is so frustrating. Like they basically create an illusion of choice for women who believe, where they're like if you talk to women who are like super devout, they'll be like, I can do whatever I want actually, and what I want to do is submit to my husband and have kids and not have a job and never get an education beyond high school, and that's my choice. And okay, like I guess, obviously for some women that is their choice, but when you've been indoctrinated to believe that that is like the height of what you can achieve, it is an illusion of choice. It's an illusion of free will, because you were brought up in an environment where you didn't think that there was anything beyond that. Like you didn't consider life beyond that, so it's an illusion of choice.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, man, that's another thing that I don't think I've actually thought about before. I guess gaslighting would be this idea that, yeah, if you're tricked into thinking that you're making the choice that's making you feel bad or holding you back, yeah, that is definitely, that is a really big problem. Wow. Again, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna add, people in chat were helping me out when I was trying to say about different things they're trying to pass that would impact women from kind of the purity culture view was like the um Tennessee, someone said Tennessee just had a case where a pregnant person was denied prenatal care because of the doctors disagreed. And if I remember correctly, it's because the woman wasn't married, but she had kids
Yeah.
with somebody unmarried. And then the other one was increasing taxes on single mothers, like just weird stuff to not allow to keep women in marriages and only, you know, only be able to make certain decisions. Basically, making it harder for them to leave situations or whatever it might be.
Yeah, yeah, that's wow. I'm writing. I'm trying to write down everything you guys are saying, because this is a really, honestly, a big part of my kind of deconversion. I would say that I'm already like most of the way through. Like I said before, and this is why I appreciate you guys so much. Like I still have a lot of questions that I just want to, do my due diligence with and go through, that have, questions that I've had as a theist, and I just want to kind of clean out the closet and just, and just go through all these thoughts that I had. So I really appreciate both your time and input on this and your perspective. I think I might just kind of close out with that, because there's I already have a lot written down that I want to think about and look into. So I think that might be where I'm comfortable leaving it for now, unless you guys have anything else you want to add to that.
I just want to say I think it's really good that you're deconstructing this part of it, because you'd be surprised how many men leave religion but are still very misogynistic and sexist, and I don't even know if they're aware that they need to deconstruct that part, or aware of why they're still that way even after leaving religion. So I think it's really great that you're doing this part of it, which I think is really important. And it seems like I've run into a decent amount of men who have missed that part when deconstructing religion. So I think it's good that you're doing this and, asking women about it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Will.
Yeah. I honestly. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for doing that as well.
Yeah. I didn't even really think about this until I saw the title of the broadcast, and I was like, wow, that kind of sparked a whole new thought process. So honestly, and again, I'm starting to discover, and I'll just say this, I'm starting to discover that there are a lot of questions that I never even realized that I should ask. And, that alone, I think, speaks a lot to kind of how I've been living my life. And so I'm really just trying to change that and question that. I think that you guys are doing a great job, and this has been a really big help in my kind of questioning journey, I guess is the way to put it. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate all of you who are doing this. So yeah, it's great.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Will. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you guys.
And you can call back anytime.
Great. Will do. All right, you guys take care.
Bye.
You too. Goodbye. All right. Wow. That was such a nice call.
Yeah, everybody's been so nice. Wow.
Yeah, they have been really nice. It's been a very chill show today, and yeah, and that was super nice. And Will has a lot of support in the chat also. I feel like this whole day, this whole show has been nice, because it's been a lot of our community being a good example of how you still can find really wonderful community even without religion being at the front of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
All right. shall we go through our super chats? If you want to send a super chat of $5 or more, now would be the time. And yeah, and we'll just start getting to them.
$5 from. Oh, sorry.
From, it's okay. You can go first.
Vincent King 2552. Grain don't pop. Hashtag Jolteon is the best. Hashtag Espeon is mid. That's just like objectively wrong about the Jolteon thing. He's the worst out of all of them, but it's okay. We all have opinions.
Grain don't pop, by the way, is them listening to the music that plays before we actually get on.
I figured. Wait, are they just putting lyrics to it, or is that what it actually says?
No, I think it's grind, don't stop, maybe?
Grind, don't stop.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
That makes more sense. Grain don't pop.
Grain don't pop is so good. $20 from Duffelbag 420. Hilarious name. Double-sided sticky tape. What is that from? Double-sided sticky tape. Is that a reference that I'm not getting? Or maybe we were talking about something in the show? I don't know.
I'm not getting
if anyone
it
in the chat
either.
remembers. But thank you so much for the support. And if anyone in the chat remembers what that's in reference to, please let me know.
$5 from .FAFO. I appreciate you ladies, but more concise on these boys. The common denominator is them, not women, referring to a convo last week.
I don't remember which conversation we had last week that would be in reference to, but
I'm trying to remember, but I
don't
know.
I don't know. Yeah, more concise on these boys. The common denominator is them, not women. I mean, yeah, and everyone in every situation can take responsibility for things that go on, and so whatever. We figure out these things all together. So while yes, maybe the common denominator is bad behavior on their end, it's like unfortunately can't be fixed on their own. $5 from William. I always forget how to pronounce Matees, 1991. Someone's going to tell me because they always do. And I'm so sorry, William, because you've been a part of this chat for so long. Hello to both of you. Mattis, thank you. Hello to both of you. That is all. Mustache face. Thank you very much, William.
$5 from William. Wait,
This is the one I just read. That's all. This is the one I read before. Yeah.
$20 from the Cursed Lantern Music. That's all.
Wow, spooky. Thank you.
Thank you.
$5 from Corey Springer. Hit that like button, everyone. Yeah, hit that like button. Only 22 likes? Y'all, come on.
You have to refresh.
Damn.
Oh, okay. Maybe there's more than that. I have to refresh. I'm being told I have to refresh.
Tragic. That would have been so tragic. $5 from Mystic Mind Analysis. If Ozzy Osbourne Crazy Life can teach us anything, it's that drug plus alcohol abuse are medical issues, not criminal, and should be treated as such. Yeah, wait.
He died today.
Who died today, right? Okay, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember though. Damn.
Yeah, sad. Oh, we have 284 likes. Okay, that's better. But yeah, really sad. I mean, you know what's crazy? He just did his last. They haven't like exactly said what exactly it was. He had a lot of health issues. But he just did his last show with Black Sabbath like 2 weeks ago, which is so crazy.
Damn.
Yeah. $20 from Duffelbag 420. Any relationship between purity culture causing asexuality in those born into and raised in a cult with heavy purity culture? Well, I think that if you have a very extreme exposure to purity culture, there's a lot of like stress and anxiety that's connected to sexuality. So it's possible that that's the reason. Like stress is the biggest inhibitor to sexual arousal. So that could be it. But it also could just be like the way that your brain would have been even if you weren't raised in heavy purity culture. So it's hard to really say, but I can tell you, like, from the angle of just sexuality in general relies on feeling safe and not as stressed.
Yeah, I feel like it would be hard to say if it was asexuality or just ending up not liking it as much because of like the shame and guilt and such.
Yeah. Agreed. But thank you so much for the super chat and for the support this week.
$10 from Alyssa Nguyen. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
When?
Okay.
Win.
Okay. I remember seeing something that said Satan sincerely responded to misdirected letters from Santa and won't forward them and cherishes each one because they're the only people who are nice to him all year. Aw, stop.
Oh my god,
Poor
that's
Satan. That would be
really
so
sad. Not us feeling bad for Satan. We're like, oh.
Aw, poor guy.
Oh, sad. $5 from Green Man Dave. I fear Angus Oak. I don't know what that means. Because he wields moral tack, a blade that can kill anyone, but with a scratch. Does that count as God-fearing? Girl, I don't know what you're talking about, Dave. You lost me.
Me neither.
Someone tell me. I don't know what we're
Rip.
talking. It feels like it would be like a Dungeons and Dragons situation, like a game that we're talking about that I don't know about. But
damn,
Irish
I only
myths.
played a couple. Oh.
the who? Irish what?
Irish mythos.
myths.
Oh, it's a myth, an Irish myth. Okay, hell yeah. I don't know anything about that, but I love it. Thank you.
$5 from Legally Mod. My head canon is that Taylor is the Microsoft chatbot Tay Tweets from 2016 using a more realistic avatar and nothing will change my mind. Wait, what? That was a chatbot? Tay Tweets?
I guess.
Was
I don't
that
know. I don't
actually a
remember
thing?
that.
I'd never heard of that. That's pretty cool though.
That is very cool. I like that story. I can get behind that. $5 from Aaliyah Shauna Silverbow. I drank a ton of Coke my freshman year of college and gained 15 pounds. I switched to mostly water the next year and lost 10 pounds. Hashtag Coke is the best soda. Yeah, there's someone in this house who would very much agree with you on that.
That's funny because I feel like most freshmen would gain that from drinking beer, but you know, I feel like Coke is less harmful, so that's a win.
Yeah.
$10 from Bobby Kingston 7240. You can call me Bobby. Oh, sorry, no clue about the food. Okay. I'm not even reading the numbers correctly, so it's fine. I've been reading classic kids books I'd never read, but only saw the movie. Just finished Mary Poppins. She's badass. Her cousin is a king cobra. No joke. What is a king cobra?
Whoa. Like an actual cobra? Like a snake? That's crazy. That's so interesting. Okay. Well, I love that idea. To read classic books where you've only seen the movie is a great idea. $20 from Mr. Boricua 10. Enjoyed this evening's show. Amy, you are doing very well. Keep moving forward. You are awesome. Will's journey has been very genuine, especially his honest questioning these past few days. I hope to encounter more of this. Yeah, a lot of people were saying that they've heard Will's calls. Like when he came on and he said, like, I've been calling in a lot this week and like collecting a lot of information. Some people in the chat were like, oh, he's like Will. Okay, cool that he's back. And so that's cool that he's, you know,
that is cool.
Like I said, he's already like building community with people that are non-believers. The heathens are already welcoming him.
That's awesome. $5 from SJL. Catholics wave away some of the Bible by saying they are parables. Took me way too long to realize if some of it was fiction, why should I believe any? Yeah, that's exactly how I felt where if I didn't believe part of it or I felt part of it was not translated correctly or whatever, why would I believe any of it? I feel you.
Yeah. It's all the cherry picking. $5 from Aaliyah Shauna Silverbow. I'm running out of good jokes, so here's some punchlines. Beef tips. They have little patience. It wanted to be a watermelon. Thanks for a great show. That still is really funny. And are you writing jokes punchline first? Because I've never thought about doing that, and that's very funny.
I don't even get
And
it.
that makes sense.
It's just the punchlines for the jokes.
It's just the punchlines, like just the like end of a joke. It could be like, what's a cow's favorite advice to give? Beef tips, like that. That was a bad joke.
Okay. I understand. $5 for a monkey at typewriter. Congratulations, Will. Welcome to reality. Remember that people are going to try and make you try. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. Make you try to doubt your own faculties. Trust your reason. Good show.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Proud of Will. $5 from President Starscream. I just love how the Earth rotates on its axis. It really makes my day. Yeah. It is nice that it tends to do that every day. Day in and day out.
$5 from... This is Jessica, right? Or...
Mm-hmm.
There was one that was like Jessica. Okay, all right, 87. It definitely says Ringo Starr, and you are all wrong. Hashtag Growlithe is better than Espeon. Oh my gosh, reading this hashtag is destroying me. Then Espeon, and anyone who disagrees is a smelly Trump supporter. Hashtag love you soon. Hashtag Zaruba for logo.
Zerba for logo. Oh, Zerba is the zebra that Forrest drew, and then they made into merch.
That's right.
And
that's right.
Now there's another competition happening where we might make Zerba the logo for the line. I don't know. There's always some shenanigans happening on this channel. £5 from Vincent King. 25.52. I just drink a toxic amount of food coloring. I'll be okay, but I died on the inside. Nice. Hashtag Jolton is still the best. Hashtag rip Ozzy. Oh, rip Ozzy. When I like the bad emoji.
Jolteon is not the best, but it's okay. $5 from Moira Bannister. Best show on the line. Well tied with
TACIS. Transatlantic call-in show.
Oh,
which is Thursdays, I think, or Wednesdays. Thank you, Moira. We love you, and we haven't seen you in a while, so I'm happy to see your name pop up again. Thank you. 20 Canadian dollars from A Lorsis. I don't know. 8732. Thanks, Alyssa. Thanks, Taylor. Great chill show. It was a really chill show.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really nice.
I didn't have to yell even once. It's nice.
Not even once. $5 from the Fuzzy Logic. The grind, in fact, does not stop. Thanks, Alyssa, Taylor. I am still trying to learn to pronounce your name.
Amargan?
Amargan. And then there was like Amargan and Arden, and I was getting very confused for a second. Okay, no. Flabbergasted chat and callers for a great show. Stop. My name, like, remembrance is really bad, and it... Yeah, that's all. That's all I have to say about that.
There is a girl that I met literally in like almost a year ago. I have asked her to pronounce her name so many times for me. I cannot ask her again. And I've gotten to a point where I'm like, well, now we've known each other a year, and so I'm just gonna wait for someone else to say it, and then I'll say it because I can't ask.
Yeah,
again.
because then it becomes too late.
Yeah, it's too late. I can't say anything now. I understand.
Well, the other thing is, I had never heard the name Arden, and I had never heard the name Amargan either. So like, they're two brand new names to me. So that's also what's tripping me up. Okay.
Yeah.
We're good. I got this.
You'll get it. $5 from Aaliyah Shauna Silverbow. Here's another $5 because you think I actually write my own jokes. Hashtag I am a joke thief. You could have let me live that lie, and I would have never known. But I appreciate the honesty and the extra $5. Yeah, who would have known? Lying by omission. Well, thank you so much to all of our wonderful callers today that were so nice and chill, and to Morgan and to our screeners. Our screeners today. Oh, our screener was flabbergasted today. So thank you so much. Thank you to all of our moderators, all of our patrons. I think I thanked everybody. I said our screeners. I don't know. I think that's everything. Yay! What a chill day.
I know. I'm happy about it.
Everyone was so nice. Yeah. Also, your hair looks so good.
Thanks. I tried for once.
It looks really good. I saw other people in the chat saying that too. They were like, oh, hair. I was like, yeah. My hair is hair